If you're a photographer looking to get into headshot photography, then stick with us in this episode of Photography 180. We're going to cover some of the essentials that we rely on day to day to create clean, consistent images. Hey everyone, welcome back to the series. This week it's all about headshots and the essentials that we rely on day to day to make these shots happen for our clients. Now I'm going to be focusing mostly on gear related items here, so let's get right into it and talk about the number one most important thing to have is a camera and a lens. Of course, how else are we going to create the images, right? So what we are using here in studio, I am a Sony shooter, and so the two camera bodies that I rely on the most are the Sony a7 IV and the Sony a9 II. My main camera body being that Sony a7 IV. I like the way that the screen, I'm able to articulate and move that around a little bit more freely compared to the a9 II. But the a9 II is a great backup as well. Now, of course, you need to pair it with a great lens in order to take full advantage of the camera's capabilities. So number one, I look for using more of a longer focal length lens. I love using primes, so here I have three of my most commonly used prime lenses for headshots, and that's gonna be the Sigma 135 1.8 art, the Sigma 105 2.8 art, and the Sony 85 1.8. So these are the three lenses that I am most often using for headshots. That could change whether I'm out on location or here in the studio. The constraints of the room could dictate what lens you may end up having to use, or if you're out on location, you have a little bit more of a free choice. But there are things to consider. The 135, of course, offers really amazing compression compared to the others, but yet that 85 and 105 still produce amazing results. The 105 tends to have this little bit of extra, I think, sharpness to it, especially as you stop the aperture down a bit. That's really just the nature of this macro lens in particular. Sigma really makes great quality glass, but also this 85 is extremely versatile. Now in situations where I might be in studio and not have a lot of space to work with, but maybe my client may want a full portrait all the way from head to toe, then I may end up going with the Sony 55. That's what we're filming this video on, and that's going to give me a little bit more coverage there in a tighter space. But if I'm outside, if I'm not on location, chances are, and mostly also here in studio, I'm going to use the 85mm 105 or the 135. Different results can occur with different subjects, different distances, different setups. So you're gonna have to experiment a little bit and really, see what works well for you. But if I had to pick only one out of these three that are right here, chances are I'm probably gonna go with that 85mm focal length. I just think it's the safest bet if I had to pick one to give me both the ability to do some really nice portraits with some great bokeh, and also if I have a little bit of space, I can get a little bit further back as well. When you're using that 135 and you're in a tighter space, it's very difficult to get a variety of compositions, I would say. So that's my recommendation there. Now, of course, lighting is another thing, huge thing to consider. If you're inside in a studio like we are here, yes, we do have some windows that we could utilize some of the natural light coming in. You will be at risk potentially for some color casts that exist outside, so those are other things to consider. But for the most part, we are relying on off-camera flash in order to create the results that we're after. We use the Flashpoint sort of ecosystem of lighting from Adorama, so the Flashpoint R2 Pro triggers go on top of the camera, and with our main light generally being this here is the Explore 400 Pro. We also have some 600 Pros, so if we are out on location, we think we might need a little bit of extra juice, then we will bring 600s. But for the most part, the 400 Pro is a great light. We've used this for years and it's really held up. So definitely recommend a great affordable option that produces really great results. And when it comes to, the modifiers that we would potentially want to attach this to, again, I would love for the opportunity when I have it to use the larger modifiers, especially for headshots. So when I have the ability, either I have an assistant there to maintain the light, make sure it's not tipping over, then we're bringing out the big ones. The 42 Mag Box Pro, which is right now pumping the LED light onto me for this video. That's probably my number one go-to. If I'm running and gunning by myself a little bit more, then chances are I'll probably go with something a little bit smaller. Either this 34-inch beauty dish that's behind me, or the 24 Mag Box Pro from Magmod. What I ended up doing this morning for a session is I did bring the smaller 24 Mag Box Pro. I was able to get nice and close to my subject, and then I had my assistant holding a 5-in-1 diffusion from Cheetah stand, and that allowed us to double up the diffusion and create a little bit larger of a light source, a little bit softer of a light. This is going to be another essential piece of gear to add, especially if you're going to be out working on location, is the 5-in-1, not only for its ability to act as a reflector or to block light, but more so for the diffusion. I love to use this in between a hard light coming in to really, take that bite out of the direct sun and really create a nice, soft, flattering light. It's a great tool to have. It's definitely on the more affordable side, which is a great bonus. So I definitely recommend the larger 5-in-1 reflector, the largest one that you can get. Go grab it. Folds up really nice and easy to take for travel, but it's a huge value add as a photographer, especially when you're out there on location fighting the elements. Really that covers sort of the camera. My recommendation obviously is to go with a full frame camera. Yes, you can shoot crop sensor. It's been a long time since I've even had a crop sensor camera in my hand, but all I know is that a full frame camera with any of these lenses here really should give you a great result, or at least from the technical side of things. You're gonna still have to work hard to get the best expressions and give your clients really great direction. So there's a whole other side of this equation to getting to that great result. But on the gear side, these are definitely the essentials that we're relying on for certain. Now, as you start getting more comfortable, as you start building up a little bit, you'll be able to start potentially adding additional lights, whether that's to use here in studio or out on location. It definitely becomes a little bit trickier out on location to use multiple lights. If you're gonna use modifiers like this, you really need to bring out sandbags and really good quality stands. As far as tripods are concerned, I typically don't use them out on location. When I'm here in studio, I am relying on the Cheetah stand mobile creator combo, which is what my camera is currently attached to right now. I love using this during headshot sessions here in studio because it allows me to have a place to put my laptop down, to wirelessly tether using Capture One Pro. Gives me instant feedback, gives my clients instant feedback, and really helps the session go much smoother and much quicker, getting us to that final result even faster. Clients love to see the immediate feedback. They love to be able to have a hand in the creation process. And I think seeing the result puts them at ease. They're seeing really great images starting to come up on the screen, completely unedited, and they're already feeling better about themselves and giving you a better version of themselves. So this is all cumulative. It all leads to a great result in the end. Stick with my recommendations for gear. Stick with that 85mm or longer focal length, and give yourself a nice camera body. I think pretty much any full frame camera sold these days is gonna give you an ability to do that. I think you invest more in your glass, more so than anything, and a good light. As you build up, you can work with assistants to come and make the process that much easier for you. These are all things to think and consider. Get yourself a 5-in-1 diffusion to work with so you can have those reflector capabilities, flagging capabilities, or the diffusion capabilities. And I think you're gonna see better results as you start incorporating all those things. Hope this episode's been helpful. I look forward to another one next week. If you have any comments or any questions at all, please leave them down below. I appreciate your support and for checking out the channel. Have a good week.